Okay, this video tutorial is for outlines. It's pretty short and sweet, but there are some tricks to it. I'm going to start off with a rectangle just for simplicity. And so we have the outline tool up here, which I've mapped to Alt-W, which I will use. And this is what we use for doing, say, like the contour cut offset bleed. So there's the bleed if we were imagining this as a contour cut. But the basic function is that you've got this visual selector, and then you also have your numeric attributes under Design Central. So we'll just start with like a 0.25 inch, and if you hit the green apply button, it is a dynamic feature, so it retains its usefulness as far as numeric value alterations, so long as the object and the outline effect has not been separated or cleared. So we'll go ahead and separate the effect using separate effects or Control Shift F, and now they are separate. So there's the basic workings. I'll duplicate it and do another one. So now we'll go ahead and stack two of them together of equal dimensions, so the 1/4 inch. And we've got this feature here, interpolate color, enabled. This allows us to have a gradient of outlines. And we have the fill, or let's see, it says with backing or without backing. I'm going to go back actually to one, since we should cover the without backing. So with backing is what you see here, and without backing, you'll see you don't notice it until you actually separate the effect. So I'll separate the effect, and you can see without backing. So there's the two differences. Let me actually copy those, and we'll go back to the states of which they are. Oh, nice. Previous tutorial. Let me separate the effect. There we go. So that shows what we're doing here. Now I'm going to duplicate that again, and we'll stack it with couple 2 or more, was 2, 3 equal thickness outlines, and hit the apply with backing, and you can see that it's on a gradient. Now I just noticed now it's really easy to notice that there's actually an outline that's part of the original object, this yellow object. If I was to copy it and look at it, you can see that it does have a 0.0 thickness outline, but it's still apparent. And in order to keep things tight, we'll go ahead and get rid of the outline. So I'm just going to hold the Control key and hit on the transparent. Same with this. Transparent. Okay, so now with this style of with backing, and then I'll take this one over here and do the same thing without backing. Again, you can't do anything with them as long as they're still in effect. So we need to separate the effects. And let me start pulling them to the side. You can see the difference. Okay, oh, forgot to mention. Let me go back here. That once you separate an outline effect, it has to be ungrouped. It's just kind of like an illustrator when you do some sort of effect or a offset path similar to what we're doing here. It's going to be grouped to the original grouping. So I'm going to go ahead and just ungroup it. Control U. I'm not sure why it says Shift on that one. Why is it saying? I must have hit Shift. And then now I can pull these away, and you can see the effect. So this works really well when we're doing number plate borders. Okay. And let me give you another version. So another option with outlines is to do an offset, and that's the second numeric value right there. And we'll go ahead and do, and it automatically eliminates with backing. I'll show you. So we'll go with backing, and then I'm going to do a 0.25 offset or gap, and then you can see that it's grayed out, and hit the OK button. And if I was to put this behind, you can see that indeed there is a gap. So in order to gain access to if you just needed this outline, you need to separate it. And because there's no other object, there's no gradiating or multiple outlines, you don't need to worry about it being grouped. It just is free. So let's apply this to something that actually makes sense. I'm going to quickly draw a number plate. I could probably have equally gone quicker and found an actual template, but this is all that really matters. All right, yeah. Don't know of any number plate that looks like that, but I'm going to add a bolt hole here and a bolt here, bolt hole there, and we'll convert everything into a contour cut. That didn't do. All I did was go to wireframe. So, oh, I actually did something. Not sure what I did. That's definitely not a contour cut. There we go. Nope. How about ungroup? Huh. Okay. Contour cut. Release contour cut. Contour cut. Make contour cut. That is interesting. This must be a new feature for Flexi 21 because it's taking this original color. So let's get rid of it. We'll just make it a solid fill, get rid of the stroke. And now, there we go. So essentially what I did was go to make backup and just show you again. So looks like Flexi 11 inherits now. If there's a stroke on it, it's inheriting the color. And that's not normal. Normally in my older version, I'll show you here real quick. Do that, and if it has a yellow stroke on it, which like the other one did, I'm going to go and convert it to an outline or a contour cut. See, it did not inherit, it replaced the color scheme. So that is a new feature, it looks like, for Flexi 21. So again, I'm going to, in order to get back to that, so I keep trying to separate or create a contour cut. I'm just going to make them a solid color and take off the contour cut. Now it's a force to inherit the correct color. And the only reason I call it correct is because it's unique in that there's very few instances where you'll have a gray stroke, and so this color works very well. So now we're on to outlines. So we want to do an outline, a standard background. And so the first thing we got to do with every object is to create the bleed. So we'll go ahead and start with that first, and we'll make it with backing, and the bleed will be 1.125. And you hit apply and separate the effect, and of course it's going to inherit the contour cut stroke. So even though it will not cut, it still inherits that quality. I'm going to go ahead and hit transparent while holding the control key down, and that will take the stroke away. You can see here it confirms that the stroke's gone. So now we want to make a series of borders. So all of our number plate borders that are standard have 3 borders, an outer, a middle, and an inner. So we start with the contour cut again, and this time instead of doing outline, we're going to do inline. So you change the feature in Design Central to inline, and that actually is the correct border width. We'd use 1/8 inch on all of our standard backgrounds. Used to be that our outline, our bleed was 0.05 of an inch. So in this case, since we're commonizing our bleed for use on a roll fed cutter, we're going to ignore the difference. So I need 3. So we'll go ahead. I'm going to change the color from something other than brown so we can see it. We're going to leave it so that it's doing the interpolate color, and then I'll do 3. So there we go. We've got our outside, which will be the bleed, then the middle, and then the inner. So if I click OK, and then I'm going to separate the effect. Actually, let me go back one because we could use, there's a couple ways to do this. We'll do it this way, and then I'm going to duplicate it, and we'll do it another way. So it did inherit the contour cut stroke, so we'll go ahead and take that off just by holding Control and hitting untransparent. And then I got to ungroup it just like before, so Control U. And then what I can do is I want to punch this this guy through that guy, and we'll use the remove overlap. And if I move this out of the way, you'll see that lighter teal. Go ahead and remove overlap. And one more time. And so now I've got, I can send all these to the back. I'm sending them to the back control, or you can see that I was shift page down. Now the alternative way to do it is to once again take the stroke off the grouping, and then we'll go to, let's see, did I separate it already? It has been separated, so let me go back to here and redo the borders. So this time I'm going to do it without backing, if possible. And let's see what happens. Yeah, without backing. And then I'm going to separate it, and while it's still selected, I'm going to take the stroke off of it. And then I'm going to ungroup, delete this one. Do I want to delete that one? Hold on a second. Yeah, because this is my contour cut. So delete that one. And then I will just drill through this one outside, which is, you can see, is a full flood. Just punch through or remove overlap here. And wow, there's no difference actually. That was not what I wanted. So you can see, screw it. Nope, ignore this way. Don't do this way. What's going to happen is if I punch again, I'm probably going to end up with a little sliver in between it. Let's see if I do. I didn't. I have in the past. Looks like it's cleaned itself up. So that's good. So, all right, do I have everything? I do. So we can change and commonize these backgrounds and commonize these colors. And there you have it. So there is a number plate background. And so let me go one more step with number plate backgrounds and illustrate it a little more complex. This is going to be a little more advanced, but in some cases, for instance, like the way this, let me get rid of this one because they're both basically the same. Pull this up, bring it down. All I want is the outline or the contour cuts. And if we look at the, we do the bleed again. So bleed is going to be an outline, 0.125 with backgrounds, only one of them. Hit OK, separate the effect, and then clear the outline. These are all things I just do, inherently. So what I don't like is that this, I didn't want the outline to go up into this area. So I prefer it to be like some sort of a kind of shape like that for the outline to follow. And even too, right in this here, say that's a wrap, I'd want it to actually follow this square. So what I'm going to do is duplicate the outline or the contour cut, just the outside one, leave the holes where they are, and then center them. I just centered them, Control F5 or Control 5, and now I'm going to group these together and then push it to the back, and now I have just one contour cut, outside contour cut, and I'm going to create the path that I want this to follow. Now I'm okay with something similar to this, so for simplicity's sake, I'm going to just go get the Bezier tool and start connecting at the last point. You can see that it modifies the picker or the cursor into that little starburst and just come out like this. And go ahead and hit apply. So I close the path, and then I'm going to bring this to the front so I can see it better. And take the stroke. Okay, so the reason I keep getting a yellow stroke is because my default color under fill and stroke editor for stroke is yellow. And I can change that by having no tool selected and just click on the control key plus the transparent. That gets rid of the stroke. And then whatever color you have chosen is the default color. So this is currently this apple green. I'll go to copper just to mix things up and take that stroke off. So I want to also fix this. So first thing I'm going to do is just bring this to the top and then punch it out using remove overlap and then delete that. So now I've got a basic shape that I want, and I'm going to clean it up. I'm going to use a couple tools. I'll do sharpen corner right here, sharpen corner for here. But I need a radius there, so I'll go back to the radius thing. I probably could have just used this arc tool instead. And same here, I'm going to just put a little smooth arc and smooth arc. And then maybe curve optimization to get rid of any potential loops. I'm hitting the enter key each time I do this. And then I'm going to blend that out real smooth like that. So now I've created what still looks like a contour cut, which it is, but I'm going to go ahead and release the contour cut. So Shift Control X releases it. That's the hotkey that I've created. And now you can see the path that it's going to do. So in order to make this work, I need to do a inline now of 3. So this outside edge is going to be the outside border. Now if I want the border to actually follow, like the outer border to follow a thickness and then it'd be white or whatever color, then I need to do a little bit more. But for right now, for this stage of complexity, I'll just do the inlines, the 3 inlines. So I can change it to inline and do 1, 2, 3 with that, and go ahead and hit apply. Then separate the effect, take the stroke off of it. And I could probably delete this outside, but for the sake of this video, we're going to leave it and go a little more complex in a bit. So the same process applies. Let me duplicate this whole thing so we can do the next stage. So we need to ungroup this, and we're going to punch through. Send that to the back, and then we'll just let's see if we can do all 3 of them in separate overlap. Let's see if we get extra geometry in there. Nope, that worked great. So you could use separate overlap as well. And we'll change the colors just to kind of follow the theme of what we're doing. So there's outer color, and I can delete this feature right here. Don't need it anymore. And then we'll, let's see. Oh, I think I went too far on one more border. Yeah, I did. So let me go here and then change that color. And you can see I lost count of which I didn't need 3, I needed 2 because the outside border was already implied. So that's okay. So to recover from this mistake, this deletes that, and then I'm going to uncompound this one. So Control J or arrange uncompound. Where does it go? See, I'm not there. Compound, uncompound, boom, and then delete the inside. Now I've got essentially the same features as we had before, but with a variant of this outer border being its own unique thing. Now, to make one more step further of complexity in order to gain more control over colors of what this is and have it maintain a thickness all the way around, and this gets a little tricky. There's no real smooth, easy way to do this. It's just manual. So we're going to go take that border and do an outline again of 0.125. Okay, so we'll do outline. And then I'll change it to a color we can see. Let's go beige. And something's not right. I suppose, you know what I should do is first fix this thing, actually. Just punch through here. And remove overlap. Oh, what the hell? Oh, I see what I did. I know what I did. Okay. Let me see. If I want to try a thing here too. If I separate overlap, this might cause a bunch of shit, but let's ungroup everything and then separate overlap and see what happens. Do I get a bunch of artifacts? Indeed, I don't. So that's even a faster method to accomplish. So we've got basically the same outcome over here. We're just taking that background and all these grouped ones and ungrouping them and selecting the background at the same time and using separate overlap. That worked just fine. In the past, I've had issues where there would be some splines in between some artifacts for some reason. I'm not sure why, but it looks like it's a lot cleaner now. Okay, so it's going to the outline here, this one right here that has no fill. Going to outline and 0.125. Oh, it says inline right now, outline, and we only want one and hit OK. And then I'm going to separate the effect, take the stroke off of it, send it and the background to the back so you can get a feel for what's going on here. And yeah, that does not work. Oh, I know what I'm doing here. Sorry. I do indeed need this. So we don't want this outside edge here, but we want it to go out to the bleed. So I did this wrong. Oh, okay. Yeah, so I got this. Let's make it a solid color. Send it to the back. No strokes. Ah, crap. If this ever happens, where the table gets pushed off, you just grab it and go back over. Drag it over top. It is out of order. I need to move the order of them and see if that works. Sometimes it works to go the other way. Drag down and over. There we go. Oh. I have to say that this is not my favorite. There we go. Okay. All right, so take the stroke off. All right, so what I need is there to be bleeds still, but I want this, actually I do want this to be that color, but I want this. So I think the quickest way to fix that is to take, again, this is a little more complex and it takes a little bit of brain work, but the idea is if I did the outline again, then I'm gonna have a double thick outline here on the outside border, and I want it to maintain that 1/8 inch. So, but I need it to extend off into the bleed area, so I could draw it in, I suppose, which would be easy. Yeah, it's gonna be a little messy, but let's see what happens. If I go out here, can I do it easily? I don't know. I'm gonna draw into it. Yeah, right to here, and then start drawing the inside segment. Like this, like that. It gets a little tricky around here. The idea is you want to encase it in this outside border so that it doesn't fall outside of it or inside of it. I'm just doing this. I could do a curve, but I really just need to be in the middle of it. And we're almost there. Okay, now I just need to finish it by closing the path and weld it together with that guy. Okay, and then do a fuse, like so, and then separate. All right, so now what I've got is a nice smooth transition between here and there. Actually, it's not, I lie, it's not super smooth. I'm going to separate the weld first and fix this little transition by taking this straight line tool, just coming out until it looks, to come out more. All right, about like that. And then hit enter. There we go. That's a nice smooth transition. That way there's a little wobble. And then let me look at this side over here and see how that looks. Yeah, this could be smoother too. It's gonna border, if I was a little more, there we go. Let's do that. That should be fine. A little bit further out. Right about there. Perfect. And that's fine. I could add another node by clicking on the plus symbol for the node and then take this control tool, drag that out to encompass the oops, didn't mean to do that. Just that node. There we go. And then go back to here and do the fuse again. So we've got the background and that foreground, and then we're going to do fuse or Control Shift F or Alt Control Shift F. I think so, yeah. And then we're going to separate it. There we go. So now, oops. Yeah, there we go. So now we've got this outside edge thing that can be changed and altered to a different color, unique to itself, but still encompasses this border. I can push all these to the back. Oh, let's see, outline. I still have too many borders. Just did it to myself again. Again, I uncompounded it, or Control Shift J, or Control J. So I've got, yeah. It's easy to get lost on the border combinations here, but you can see that we've got, so I'm going to take this yellow and match it to that color. That is match the stroke. And then this color matched to the inside, our middle color, and then the inside, I think that, oops. Send that to the back, bring that forward, color match that, and finally match the color of this. Okay. So that went from simple to complex to more complex. Just like that. So again, the difference here is that this one, the outer border is commonized with this, which is much easier to create this type of background than it is to do this one. And there's very few cases where this is actually necessary, unless like the number plate just has an extraordinary amount of white space, and that, like our Kawasaki KX85s are very similar. They have too much white area above where you've created your number plate. All right, so that concludes the outlines. I encourage you to practice and play with all of them. Remember that you must separate the effect and then ungroup the grouping of the effect. Otherwise, you're going to run into issues. So there you go.